Welcome to Cosmic Roadmap. I'm your host, Melissa Lambor, Reiki Astro Guide and author. I support endless wanderers with where they are meant to be in the world. This podcast is for the digital nomad, the avid traveler, and aspiring globetrotter who is seeking their next destination on planet Earth. Join us as we venture around the world through people's stories and how astrogeography has connected them to their planetary energies and purpose. My special guest today is Ana Munoz. She believes more is caught than taught, and her toddler daughter has been confirming that in every interaction. Soon after giving birth to her daughter, Ana found she was struggling with mom guilt, doubting every parenting decision and overwhelmed to the point of burnout. She now parents from a place of confidence and peace with the tools and resources to navigate any toddler-sized meltdown. Ana helps parents break the cycle of parenting that leads to mom guilt and overwhelm, and instead parent with confidence and peace. She has been a birth professional for 7 years and currently serves clients in New Jersey or virtually. So welcome, Ana. We met through a mutual friend and mentor, Gabby Braddock of No Plan B Consulting, and then later on realized we had a mutual connection through Debbie Marchetti, which you lovingly call Nina in Lineage Speaks. So we are also co-authors in Lineage Speaks, which is out on Amazon, and proceeds continue to go to Elamu Girls, which is an amazing organization helping women in Kenya. So welcome.
Hi.
Yeah.
That is a massive intro. I was like, ooh,
Yeah,
okay,
you're
tell
like,
me
yes,
more.
I know exactly.
I was like, oh, like my smile was just
I
getting
know.
bigger.
It's like,
I'm
that's
so
me.
happy to be here with you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, how has your life been since our Astro Geo session? Have you had cosmic connections? Did you figure out like, oh my gosh, like that's why I felt like that, or that's why I wanted to move forward into my life in this way?
Yeah. It's it's funny because it's one where I've got a feeling of like peace and
Mhm.
like trust, because what we spoke about is we live in New Jersey, and my husband and I, since 2009, I started it. And actually, since even before, whenever we vacation, I'd be like, we should move here. And he's no. And then in 2009, I started my own business. And he's like, if you can build a successful business, like we can move wherever you want to. And I'm like, okay, cool, let's do this.
Yeah, no, no biggie.
And no biggie. Yeah. I'm like, and then 2020 happened, and we recognized like, hey, like, okay, let's have this conversation a little more serious.
Yeah.
And then 2021, in the middle of it, he's like, all right, maybe it wouldn't be bad to move to, let's say, Florida. And I'm like, ooh, now that it's a reality, I'm like, my heart's, do I really want to do this?
Yeah. Now
You
that the
know, like,
options are being put on the table.
yeah, when it's kind of like, when you're gonna hear a no, you're like, yeah, let's do this, because they're gonna say no. So
Right.
it's not like you have to follow through. But when finally your partner goes on board and he's like, let's do it, I'm like, ooh, ooh, this is wild. I don't know. Ooh, I don't know. And we got to a point where he's, let's go to Florida, feel it out, and see from there. And while we were there, that's where we reached out, and I was like, okay, I need to understand the energy behind this. But my heart was like, when we landed in Florida, the second we landed in Florida, we're like, ooh, we're moving here. But then having our experience together, it got me from that 99 to the 100, because I was
Mhm.
like, the feeling, I acknowledge the feeling. And now that little logical human part of me is like, oh, the energy I felt wasn't in my head. There's lines that pass through here that confirm the feeling that I'm having. And so since our session, it's been the feeling, it's just been a very nice feeling of peace. And now that the peace is there, moving forward with the move, I can imagine our life there with clarity, because it's no longer a, but what if this doesn't work out? It's whatever's calling me there. If we end up moving elsewhere, then great, cool. I'll call you and be like, all right, cool. Where am I going to next? But now we envision this, and there's more clarity as to what I'm building and what it's going to look like. And my imagination is just expanding on, okay, this is what my day will look like, my work day, our family outings, it's
Right.
just it opened the door to the possibility of it. And slowly, even though we haven't moved to Florida, I feel the impact here living in New Jersey. And it's okay. The version of myself that lives in Florida in 6 months from now, she's being birthed right here and she's starting to live that daily life that she's imagining in Florida, but it's here. I've
Yeah,
brought the energy from that to here,
that's beautiful
which
because
is something we spoke about.
yeah, about tapping into the energy, and you were able to physically tap into that energy and bring it back with you. So I love that. And you have Mercury energy, which is all about good communication in that particular region. And we were talking about some disharmonious energy related to Mars, which is like very fiery, like down a bit south of where you're considering, because you're
In the
looking more,
Miami area.
yeah, you're like, yeah, it makes sense.
We've decided ixnay on the Miami area. And we brought that up in the session where you're like,
Yeah.
ooh, there's some disharmonious energy in Miami. And I was like, funny story. We've been invited to move to Miami before. And that was an instant no. And when I've traveled there, I've never come back saying, we should move to Miami. But when we traveled to Orlando, it was just, we didn't even go to Disney. The plan was to take our daughter to Disney. And we're like, why do it now? We could wait until we move here. We'll have our Florida license. We'll get a discount. It's our backyard. We'll be spending a lot of time here.
Right.
We don't need to go to like we were already Floridians.
Yeah. And it helped that you had friends also that gravitated down there too. So that's really beautiful. And I'm also
Yeah.
looking at your map, and you have purpose energy in New Orleans. So you're going to be close to that region. So maybe tapping into a bit of that and
Yeah.
incorporating it into your work. So I'm excited
Maybe
to
I'll make my way to Mardi Gras.
yeah, I love it. I love it. And you were also married, was it on a cruise or like somewhere in the middle of the ocean? Because
Yeah.
we touched upon that, and you had moon energy, which is all about family, and the sun energy,
Yeah.
like being seen and recognized. And then
Yeah.
Uranus energy, which is spontaneity. So the spontaneous nature of you just, yeah, like we're just going to go in the
Yeah.
middle of the ocean and get married.
The way our wedding came together was very spontaneous because he hadn't even proposed yet. It was just one of those things like we're laying in bed and I just turned to him and I was like, I don't even know. Maybe I saw it on Instagram. Maybe I don't even know where the idea popped up, but I saw something that triggered it. And I was like, you can get married on a cruise. And then it was one where I was like, I turned to him and I was like, we should get married on a cruise. And I was like, and next year's our 10-year anniversary. We should get married on a cruise on our 10-year anniversary and wherever it happens. And he's just like, oh,
Like, wait, what? Like you're just springing this on me.
he's like, what? And
This sounds
listen,
like the ultimatum show that they have now.
yes, but not I haven't watched it. I'm afraid. I want to watch it because it would be very great to test out some of the new like understand like you know how every behavior is unconscious. I want to
Mm.
watch it because it's a reality. It's as not scripted as possible and to watch people's faces. That's why I'm going to go to it. But the memes, I'm like, "Oh my god." But now I have to know, what did you decide on? These memes are very but no, it wasn't as the idea was always there of marriage. It just he
You're
hadn't
like, great
proposed yet, but
idea.
we've
Like,
been
let me get
talking
this
about it.
cruise. And you're
Yeah,
like,
and it was one of those where I was like, "Listen, the cruise is perfect for the type of wedding we wanted because at the time we weren't like dancers, we weren't
mm,
partiers, we weren't big group things, and we were like, we couldn't justify the traditional marriage." And he looked at me and he's like, "Okay, tell me more." And I was like, "The cost of this wedding cruise is equal to an open bar, just the open bar portion of
yeah,
getting
no
married in New
food.
Jersey."
Yeah,
Yeah, just the open bar.
you guys
And
are gonna
he's like,
starve.
yeah, exactly. And I'm like, it's on a cruise
Mhm.
and we send out the invitation. And if they want to come, they can come. And if they can't come, then totally cool. But the invitation is on their end. And he's like, yeah, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. And I was like, all right, perfect. And it was wild because we got married, I think the cruise left on a Sunday. We got married on Tuesday, and that Tuesday was the lunar eclipse of 2017.
Wow.
The lunar one is the one where it's daytime and the sun is
Yeah, like
black.
everybody was with their little boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were in the perfect angle where we didn't get the darkness, obviously, because we're on
Okay.
the East Coast, but we were at the perfect angle where the moon got covered the sun. So you could see the
Mhm.
whole thing, but the sun was still bright.
Right.
It just hit at the right angle. And I thought it was spontaneous, but then to go and read that specific location and it's, "This is the perfect spot for you to get married," and I'm like, "This is the middle of nowhere. No one else has gotten married in this, like, latitude, longitude,
Yeah,
coordinals," and
right.
I'm like, "Alright, this is." My mind was blown. I think I messaged you and I was like, "What the hell is this sorcery? And I need to know
Yeah.
more."
Once you figured out your that you had these lines, right? Like the moon, right? The
Yeah,
moon energy there, which was the family energy, and then seeing the eclipse
yeah,
there. That's
yeah.
really wild because you took that cruise from New Jersey or from down
So
in
we left
Florida?
from New York.
Oh,
So
from New
no,
York.
so we left from New York and we went down to Bermuda, but we're
Mm.
legally married in Bahamas because the ship is registered to Bahamas. That's why I'm always like, "Where am I?
I know, you're like,
What's
"Wait."
going on?" It was the middle of nowhere, international seas, on our way to Bermuda, but we're legally married in Bahamas. It's weird.
That's really wild. And yeah, so let's talk about a little bit about your before, right? In the past, with Lineage Speaks, you spoke about becoming, right? You became a doula. So you're a birth professional and how you got into that. But even before that, you were an au pair in Germany and you had moon energy once again. So that family energy. Yes, talk a little bit about that.
I feel like moon energy is something that just is very, that's what I'm here for in this lifetime.
Mm.
How I ended up in Germany is quite funny. I took it in high school and I went my senior year. We finally had our exchange. And when I came back, I turned to Xavier. I fell in love with Germany right there. And I was like, if we ever break up, I'm moving to Germany. And he just looked at me like, "Okay, like, we're high school sweethearts, like, we're not statistically, we're not supposed to be together. Like, we're not, it's not supposed to
So back then
be
you're
a
like,
long
yeah,
term.
whatever.
You're just a child. Like, when this ends, this is my plan
Yeah.
afterwards." And I went to Germany. That was the crazy part of it, is that we broke up. It was probably the fall time we broke up. And I was in my second semester of my freshman year of college, and I was like, "This is not the path for me, like, I'm not meant to be in college." And I was like, "I'm gonna go to Germany." And so I started looking and I was gonna volunteer, but volunteering is expensive, right? Because you have to cover the cost of absolutely everything, and I'm like, "I need to get paid to move to Germany." And so I don't even know how I found out about au pairs because that's not a common thing to hear about, but I found it and I was like, "I'm gonna be an au pair in Germany." And I kid you not, this was like this was probably a Monday. By Wednesday, I had created my whole profile. By Friday, I had interviews, like, lined up, and I was like, "Okay, I think I can tell my parents now that I'm dropping out of college." This was Friday. By Sunday, it was April. It was, oh god, it was April. By Sunday, I already had my family lined up, and they were like, "Great, we'll see you in 3 weeks." I told my parents this, and my mom was like, "You're not doing this," and my dad's like, she's an adult, she could do whatever she wants," and I'm like, "I'm peace out, I'm going," and I went, and it was like, I went to this little village, and it was like I was home.
Mm.
It was like I was home, and I had people coming up to me. I love village life because they came up to me and they're like, "Hi, Anna, you don't know me, but we know about you and we've been waiting for you
Aw.
to come." And I'm like, "What? Okay, cool." And it was the most magical experience. And oddly enough, it's actually also what put me on the path to become a massage therapist, which is what I became first before a doula.
Right.
But it got that ball rolling on, like, I came back, I couldn't go back to college. So I was like, I got massages while I was in Germany. Maybe I'll doing this. And it got me on the path of it. And it's been like, I don't know where I'm going, but the doors kept on opening. And oddly enough, when I came back from Germany, the friends that I made there would reach out and they're like, "So when are you coming back home?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
And it's wild because I looked at you have two moon lines there, and one is AC. So these are like different aspects of the planets, and AC has to do with self. So it was almost
Yeah.
like you were at home with yourself. Like you
Yeah.
really felt at home there. And then the other one was MC, which is related to the future, like what your
Yeah.
career is meant to be. So the fact that your career came through is another,
Yeah.
yeah, another wild aspect of those two, yeah, home lines.
I
So.
think that's exactly what the purpose of that trip was,
Mhm.
because I tried so hard to stay there and the opportunity never it was always I could feel the energy being like, you have to go back to New Jersey. And I'd come back to New Jersey and
It
I'm
was
like,
more about like
this is,
filling your cup with the with that energy to take it with
yeah.
you. Yeah.
And I can always tune into it. Like anytime, and oddly enough, here's the funny thing. The funny thing is, wherever I go, there's always something German. So when I came back, I live in a town where a 5-minute drive is Black Forest Inn, which is a German restaurant, which I
Mhm.
love. And where we're moving to, my best friend lives down there where we're moving to. When we went down to visit, she knows how to talk to me. So where I had other friends be like, "Oh, you should move to Florida," they'd be like, "We'd have fun." They'd make it like about them, and I'm like, "That's totally cool, but there's nothing about Florida I like." But when she moved, she's, "Anna, you could take a cruise like 30 minutes from here." And I'm like, "I hate you. Like, why are you telling me this?" And then she'd be like, "Oh my God, Anna, I had the best taco, and there's a brewery that they get specifically like tailored beer from." And I'm like, "Stop it." And when we came back from our trip, she reached out like a month later and she goes, "Anna, I'm going to a German, like an authentic, like German pub." And I'm like, "How authentic are we talking about?" And she's like, "I'll let you know." And she came back, she texted me a phrase that they say a lot in the festivals that's not coming to mind right now. But
Yep.
when I read it, I like responded back to her. Like I was like, I gave the response back
Yeah.
to it. And she's like, "So it's not a made up phrase?" And I was like, "No, my heart is crying because I want to be there right now.
Oh.
Like, are you guys standing on the benches?" And she's like, "They were starting to
Just singing.
yeah."
I
And
remember the
she's like,
singing.
yeah. And I was like, "Oh my God, what?" And she's like, "Yeah, we'll have to go when you move here." And I'm like, it's like a confirmation. Wherever I go, there's always some sort of German thing going on.
That's amazing. Yeah, in the universe, yeah, you don't have to go there. There's different ways that you can connect with that energy just
Yeah,
from where exactly where you are. So
it pulls it in.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, so in the future, like where do you see yourself going? The other places that we spoke about were Alaska and Colombia, since you have an ancestral tie there. Do you see yourself going to these places or have you felt called? How have you felt called?
I definitely see myself going there, and it's quite funny because I think one of the places specifically to Colombia that you mentioned was Cartagena.
I know, yeah.
Um, and my sister has been going there a lot since we spoke about it. Like she went and then she came back and she brought me things from there and she's like, "Oh, I'm going back in November." And I'm like, "Well, okay, this keeps on popping up."
You had moon energy there once again, and that one was moon energy, the same moon energy you had in Germany, which is the
Yeah.
self, like the feeling at home with yourself. Yeah.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, so it's something that I do want to go to. We've spoken about, so as my business transitions and grows, the possibility of retreats and things for my moms to re-energize themselves with and connect with themselves. And actually, it would be a really good retreat for the series that I'm creating for the Mother Within because it's ooh, like you've got the
Yeah,
beaches, you've got like connecting with yourself and feeling yourself because we become
exactly.
moms and we
The
forget who we
embodiment.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned it before when we spoke about the cruise where I'm like, "Oh, we weren't dancers back then, but I gave birth," and I was like, "Why am I not dancing? Am I really not dancing because I think someone's gonna judge me?" And we went to a wedding and I was like, "I'm gonna dance my butt off." And so now I'm like, "Ooh, Cartagena, like dancing, like they have my sister went there was for a concert." And I was like, "Okay, I like that idea of a retreat there where moms get to reconnect with
Mhm.
themselves and bring this back out." And then Alaska, we did a vacation too, and that one I just felt very pulled to, and just like it kind of energized my mother energy, and
Another
I
place where you have moon energy. Yeah.
it's the
The common
moon,
it's a
it's the
common
moon.
theme. You're just like
Yeah, so I see something going on there. That was another place that my husband was like, "Yeah, okay, let's consider moving there." And I'm like, "Ooh, I like it, but that seems a little more challenging." Anything,
I
and
just
it's
see you like
especially
fighting off the bears.
I've come to the realization I used to believe that I was a DIY type of person,
Right.
and when we got married, I made a bouquet made out of book pages, and I was like, "I don't have to pay someone to do this, I could do this myself." And I was like, "Ooh, Anna," like, after the 100th flower, I'm like, you're not a DIYer. Like, you're not a DIYer. And so Alaska, I'm like, I like going there. I'm not an Alaskan. I'm not a nature's person. I'm a trails person. I'm
Right.
not a conquer the wilderness. And that's the final frontier. I'm
Yeah. And you're
at the
also a
thought of,
manifester, right? So it's like you're manifesting ideas, but you don't necessarily want to be like making them.
so no, I'm a projector.
Oh, you're a
My
projector.
daughter's a manifester.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, my partner is a projector. I remember we were talking about
Yeah,
this. So you need the invitation. So
I
you're
do need the invitation.
mhm.
I need to
Yeah, yeah.
wait for my daughter to be like, let's go to Alaska.
Yeah. Like,
She's the
okay, we're
manifester.
ready. Ah, I see. I see.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting as you
Um,
grow up. Yeah.
yeah.
You'll be
So
pushing
we'll
your
see when I go
buttons.
back to Alaska. But yeah, I see things happening there and in
Yeah.
Colombia in the future. Even if it's to go do ayahuasca, I want to do ayahuasca, and I've been thinking going to Colombia would be a good experience for that.
Yeah, that would be beautiful. And with Lineage Speaks, tell us a little bit about your chapter because that also connects back to the moon energy, like you becoming a
Yes.
doula, a birth professional. And I've connected with you as massage therapy. Tell us a little bit about the story that you shared there.
Yeah. So my chapter in Lineage Speaks is it's me processing my birth, giving birth to my daughter. And it's one where it's beautiful. Prior to getting pregnant, I thought I believed that I'm a birth worker. I'm a prenatal massage therapist. I'm a birth doula. I eat, breathe, sleep, birth. Like, I've got this. Or that's the energy I went in with. I had the whole plan. I was like home birth, midwives, prenatal massage, birth doula, acupuncture, yoga. Like
So
I was
you
going to be
got
the
in,
most tenured mother.
yeah. So you got in before you even became pregnant. You were a
Yeah.
doula and a birth worker, yeah. Because I
So
did
I
the
met,
same. I,
yeah.
I went for doula training. I'm like, yeah, if I ever have a kid, then I'll be like fully prepared. And I remember us talking. It never goes as
No,
planned.
I think that any parent, any mother recognizes that the perfect mother is the one who's not a mother. Like we have this very great fantasy of you see a child having a mouth, my child won't do that. I will handle this in a really great we've got the best parenting advice
I
when we're
won't be
not
like my parents.
I won't be like my parents is it was a common phrase for me growing up. That was everything. And it was actually what was holding me back from getting pregnant. I don't think I go into this in the chapter, but I was talking about it with my mentor,
Mm,
where she was like, Anna, like you were so afraid of being like your parents. And, I'm Hispanic. The chancla is not
yeah.
a joke.
Oh, yeah.
It's a reality.
Oh,
And
I lived
my
through that
biggest
too. And I
yeah,
think a
my
big
biggest
fear for
fear.
me was the same. Yeah, I didn't want to have
Yeah.
kids because of that.
I Yeah, I don't wanna hit my kids, and I'm afraid of it. And
Passing
then
on any
processing
like,
this with my
yeah,
yeah, processing it with my mentor, she's like, "Anna, you now have the awareness of this, and you now have the tools to change how you parent." She's great. "So, how likely are you to be pregnant this month?" And I'm like, "I'm not that's not possible. I passed my possibility of it." And she's like, "Great, you'll be pregnant next month." And then the next week, I wasn't even late yet, but something said, "Take the test." And I took the test, and I was like, what is this sorcery? It was like my body can get pregnant, but mentally my mind was like, girlfriend, you're about to repeat the cycle of your parents and you're afraid of that. So we're not going to let this egg implant. And when you let when I let the story through, it was like, all right, cool. We're going to let this egg implant because now you have the beginning tools to start
right,
to rewrite that cycle. And that's how it's been with it. That's what my chapter goes into, creating my orgasmic birth, and then also creating the challenges I had to go through in order to be where I am today, where I'm like, no, you can't, as a birth doula, as a birth worker, you can't have the most perfect birth because where's the growth? Where's the growth? And in my challenges, at the very last hour, 2 hours of my birth, where we transferred and I no longer had my home birth, I had a hospital birth, and
mm,
then processing it afterwards, that's what the chapter is all about. It's about recognizing we get to choose whether or not we consciously choose our own challenges and create them. And that's how I am where I am today, because in facing it and being in the ugliness of the postpartum experience and being like,
right.
I don't want a mother like this. I already know I'm not going to hit you, but I also don't want to do the overwhelm, the mommy guilt of I want to be with you and at the same time I want to be working, and feeling the shame of I really need to leave this house and go feel like myself again, but I don't want you to think it's because of you. And having processed all that now, A, I have a really amazing chapter now, and then B,
Yes.
I can help other moms, process this, because I can't be alone. Every time we have these experiences, we feel like we're alone, but we're not alone. One of the things when I was giving birth, it was a full moon, and I was right outside my window, and I could see the full moon, and I could feel the energy of connecting to all the other women who were giving birth in that moment. Because the full moon, people who don't understand moon energies, they're like, oh, like the moon, what, like it's just a moon, it's just a thing in the space. But even talking to science people, we had dinner with the captain who married us, and he's like, what are
Yeah.
you doing? I'm like, I'm a doula, and I have a mom who's due next week, but I hope she doesn't give birth this weekend. He's like, he said, a captain and a man, he said, you're fine, the full moon is next Tuesday, she won't give
Wow.
birth. And I was like, you believe in that? And he's like, it's weird, but we have the weirdest experiences during the full moon on a ship in the middle of the ocean.
That's
And I'm
wild.
like, you believe in that? So the full moon on my day that I gave birth, I felt that mother energy, and I was alone in my bathroom, but I wasn't alone. I knew that there were other moms, other animals,
Right.
mammals, just beings giving birth at that same
Right.
moment. And so every single time I experience these challenges, we feel alone, but I'm like, I can't be alone. And that's why I have the voice of let's write this chapter, let's share these experiences, because moms need to know that they could break up with the norms, and they could break up with the I don't want to parent like my mom. I love her. She had all the resources to do everything to raise me the way that she did. And I needed those challenges to be who I am right now. We can't have perfect life, because then where's the growth? It would just be a la 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 la. And being a
Right.
human is not about la la la. It's about, all right, let's face these challenges if we want to grow and experience everything that this world and this life has to offer.
Yes, yes. And that is so true, because if you don't have the challenges, then you take things for granted. So
Mhm.
I've also lived with a lot of challenges, and I feel like that's definitely prepped me for the entrepreneurship, like the work that I'm doing with identity and helping people figure out like where they're meant to be. So I love that. And the whole thing about the full moon is interesting, because we are majority water, and it's almost
Yeah.
like this tide within us, the women and all the animals birthing at the same time. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a beautiful image and metaphor too.
And we're not just all water, then we're pregnant and we're a water being in a bag of water. Like, are we
Exactly.
really thinking that if the moon
Mhm.
can affect the tides, do we really not see the correlation of how it can affect the bag of water that's literally been growing in our belly for 40 weeks?
Mhm.
Like, you can't, it- at some point you have to face it and be like, it has to pull the belly as well.
Exactly. So beautiful. So that leads us into how can people work with you? What are your offerings? Like, how can people connect with your medicine?
Yes. So as we've mentioned in this episode, we've made the 100% determination that we are moving from New Jersey to Florida. That's happening this fall. It's October 2022. And so if you're in New Jersey and you want to experience a massage from yours truly, then you have until September 2022 to book a massage with me at Morris Prenatal Massage. Or if you heard the parenting part of it and you're like, yes, I don't want to parent like my mom, or that was a phrase that you said a lot growing up, or like now you're a parent and you notice, oh my God, you open your mouth and your mom's words come out and you're like, I don't like this, but I don't know how to change that. I offer coaching and one-on-one sessions so that we can work through that and let your voice be the one that comes out of your mouth when you go to speak with your child or just interact with everyone in your life. And then for those who are like, but I like a group setting, I have a series, The Mother Within, that is coming out. It's in the works. But if you want to follow me on Instagram or TikTok, I am the Ana Munoz, and I'll be announcing that in the coming weeks.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being on today.
Thank
And
you. Thank you
yes,
so much for
thank
having
you.
me.
And remember, lineage goes beyond your ancestors. You are meant to connect to the cosmos so you may finally find your cosmic family. Until next time. Thank you for listening to Cosmic Roadmap, If you're curious about astrogeography and where you're meant to be on the planet, go to cosmicroadmap.com to download your free passport to purpose. You can also book a session with me where we can explore your own cosmic roadmap and chart your next destination in business, love, and life.